Hello. Welcome everybody to our stats for, we are in September, but the stats are for August of 2020 for our market here in Southeast Idaho. Basically, we're compiling this data from Jefferson County, Bonneville County, and Bingham County, and we're going to talk about the local stats and how our market's doing. Everybody knows that our market is just kind of, it's crazy. Inventory is at record lows, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down in that. The other day, just in Bonneville County, we had 121 active homes for sale, and it's just crazy. And it's so crazy. Anyway, things are going.
A lot of people have talked about, we always are saying the real estate market is a swinging pendulum, right? You shift by swinging. And I think people just didn't expect our shift. Everyone thinks a shift is going to be a crash or something. We've just swung to where we don't have hardly any houses to sell. Exactly. That's our new shifted market.
Exactly. Yeah, and people that want to move and sell their house and upgrade or get into a bigger house, they're not able to replace it in a way that they think they're going to. You know, with interest rates being low, the affordability of that next house is lower on a monthly cost, but you do have to buy in this market if you're going to sell in this market. So,
and it's sure hard to get your mind wrapped around paying that much for a house if you've lived here long enough to say, what in the world?
That's right.
It's hard to say, I'm not going to overpay, but I've had that conversation with everybody saying, you realize prices are not going to go backwards. That's happened maybe one time, right? In a huge crash where the value went backwards. It's just not very usual. It just means it'll slow going up so fast.
Yeah, that's right. That's usually the way the trend's been. That's
all right,
let's get right into stats then, right, guys?
Yeah. Dive in.
This is interesting because we're all doing Zoom, and so we're all virtual right now, and things seem to be getting a little less with the restrictions, right? As long as we're keeping social distance, but the market is still hot. In August, this is August to August. So last year, August, we had in 2019, 329 properties sold. This year, we only had 281 in that 1 month of August, which is a decrease of 1.8%, which means that less homes sold, right?
Wait, I think, Jeremy?
Yeah.
I think you're looking at the wrong slide.
Oh.
345.
I sure am.
Well,
I'm like, hey, that doesn't seem exactly right.
Exactly right.
2019, we had 329, and this year we had 345. So it didn't increase a ton, but we did see the number of transactions go up. That's right.
Which is interesting because as we're seeing inventory continue to decrease, we're still selling more homes. At least in August.
That's the mind blower.
Yeah.
That's the mind blower, is how that's possible. We'll see that on average days on market coming up for sure. Here's the breakdown.
There's a breakdown by price, right? So the 0 to 100,000 is super interesting, where that's one of the highest days on market, and the average price is at 51. The big one that we really want to focus on and talk about is that 100 to 300,000, where we've got the lowest under a month of inventory, right? Or the days on market. Things are selling below 1 month of time on the market. And what's crazy about that is the multiple offer situations we're seeing in that price range, right? So one house will come up and there'll be 10 to 15 buyers for that one house. So things are turning quickly, and the days on the market are continue to decrease.
Do you think, Jeremy, I know that we've had a lot of lenders have said, you got to take more time. There's a lot of refis, the appraisers. So when you see under 30 days, it just means, does that mean we have a lot of cash buyers? Are we seeing a significant influx in cash buyers?
Oh, we have seen a lot more cash buyers as buyers are coming into our market from other areas. They're selling properties in California and Colorado and Washington, moving into our market. They do have cash from the equity of their house is a big piece that we're seeing. And so they aren't depending on financing, which requires the long appraisal time, that, title preparation and those types of things. So we're skipping some of those things and closing quicker. So that is something we're seeing.
Chad, I think you mentioned once that looking at the migration patterns, our number one migratory people are in Idaho.
Yeah,
And
that's some crazy stats.
That
and
is
then the
for
average,
sure.
though, the average age is 50 to 60.
So
People
the
are-
majority of people moving here, as far as age demographic ranges, is 65 plus.
No.
And everybody asks us all the time, they say, where are all these people coming from? I mean, we get that all the time. Well, we know where they're coming from, and we're going to share it with you right now. So basically, and I'll make it a little climatic here. So number 2 is California.
Whoops, I switched.
Yeah. So number 2 is California is not the number one importer of people into Idaho, Southeast Idaho. Well, Bonneville County is this statistic.
Well, according to all the memes online, it is.
Yeah. Well, the memes are wrong because it's number 2 and it's at 15%. Arizona is number 3 at 14%. Number 1's 40% of all people coming into Bonneville County. It's actually people that are Idahoans already. It's people from Ada County, Bingham County, and Bannock County. So Boise, Pocatello, Blackfoot, those are the people that are in the number one. 40% of the people moving to Idaho Falls are from those 3 counties.
Well,
And so
Chad,
that's
what's
just
interesting,
crazy.
if it's 65 plus age, if you've lived a long time in Boise, you have probably quite a bit of equity in your house, and you can probably pay cash in Southeast Idaho for coming from Ada County. It's been crazy over there.
Yeah, it is crazy.
And people at that age are probably like, we're sick of it. We want to get back where the traffic used to be like what it was. And Idaho Falls is probably pretty.
Yeah. The average sell price is less over here too, right?
Yeah.
So that the affordability of that. Are we getting into that now?
Let's move on.
Hey, I want to mention one thing on those stats here too, just so people understand. So 0 to 100,000, there's 6 homes on the market, but none of those are in Bonneville County.
Oh.
Okay, those are all in Bingham County. Those are all kind of in Blackfoot area, and they're like 500 square foot homes that are not selling, which means they might have to do a price adjustment. Because I mean the market's telling them that they probably have to get a little more competitive. So
let's also point out that the bigger one, there's only one that was 1.7 million and one at 885 that month. And those days on market are really pulling up the averages on the overall, and we'll get into that, but those are kind of the anomaly.
Yeah. And that's not a typo. That home that just sold for 1.7 million did take about 5 years to sell. So.
Right.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look. January through August. Homes sold.
Yeah. Jeremy, you're up on that
Is that
one
me
still. Yeah.
So year to date in 2019 we saw 1962, and this year so far we've seen 2011. So still an increase, but not as much as it feels like, right? It feels like we've sold double the number of the houses because I feel like we have double the number of buyers, but no inventory for them to buy. So it's just the feel and the actual numbers just don't match up exactly in my head, but that's what's going on with the number of homes sold.
So I think what's super interesting is our next section that Chad's going to talk about with this average price.
Yeah.
Well, we know that when inventory is low, I mean, this is simple supply and demand.
Right.
When supply is low, prices go up, and we're seeing that. And we're seeing that in every part of the industry. I mean, builders are having low inventory of product, which is increasing prices on new construction. And we're seeing the same thing with existing homes. So basically we're going August over August. So August 19, the average sales price was $259,786. In 2020, we're up 16.2%. So we're at $302,029. So prices continue to go up. But guess what? We'll talk about this later, but I think this might be good to talk about now as well, is even though prices are up, we're being told that it's still more affordable to buy homes now versus last year. So how is that possible that if prices go up 16%, it's still more affordable to buy a home now than before? And that's because of
interest rates.
Interest rates go down, home prices go up, but interest rates are going down enough to where it's still, it doesn't affect the consumer yet.
Yeah.
Right.
I always tell people I'd rather you pay more for a house than pay a higher interest rate, because that's a
Right.
30-year, something that investment that doesn't go to anything, but your price going up on your house is going to continue to go up. So get that low interest rate.
Yeah.
So if last year we were getting loans at 4%, this year we're getting them at 3%. When you look at average price, that's an 11% adjustment in the cost of the money, right? And so really on an affordability scale, you're only paying 5% more.
Now, Jeremy, that leads us right into January through August. If you look at a little bit longer scale,
Yeah.
and it's even tighter. I mean, so it's even less of a difference between them.
Mm-hmm.
Great
Yeah,
point.
13.1%. We were averaging 242,000 last year, year to date, and this year we're at 274,000, just a little above that. So, yeah, it's very, very interesting. And I mean, people just need to take advantage of these rates, because once they start going up, that's what's gonna change this market considerably. So
It's gonna be an interesting situation if we see an adjustment in rates up. What will happen, because we're already so tight on inventory? What happens when you're at a 2.5% on your house and you have to pay 16% more and take your interest rate up? Who's going to sell? I mean, it will be, we probably have to prepare. That will be that'll be the peak of the pendulum. Well, it's interesting. We talk about selling. That leads us right into how much are you getting versus how much people are listing it for. And Jeremy, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, so that's what we're seeing, is that when we talk about multiple offer situations, it's actually, since competition is going up, every buyer out there knows, hey, I've got to come in pretty dang close or even higher than what this seller is asking for. And so that month over month for the year, we saw last year, at 99, now we're at 100.39%. And we've seen some crazy multiple offer situations that have gone up, 20, 30% more than the list price, just because, people are on their third or fourth attempt to try to get an offer pending for themselves. And so I think we're seeing some fatigue out there with buyers. They just want to get a house and get it done and move into it. And if they're in your third or fourth try, they're paying as much or more than what the seller is asking there.
I think if I've got a really good example of, if you're kind of come into the market as a buyer and you think I'm going to come in and try to make a lower offer and then we're going to negotiate, this number right here tells you're going to miss out on a couple houses before you learn your lesson. This one's a really good example. So this house listed at $67,500. The eventual sold price was $120,000.
Yeah.
And it was cash.
And it was a cash deal, which means you got multiple offers. This is a strategy a lot of times a listing agent will take, especially on a house that might be a fixer-upper. Price it to get the sharks in the water and then let them fight it out, and that drives that price up. So as a seller, you may say, hey, I want to start high, but look at this, what happens when you can start low and get everybody excited about it and really drive that competition.
Right.
It'd be interesting to hear how many offers they ended up getting on that to get that up to 120,000.
That would be interesting. Maybe I'll do a little.
I'm sure it's a lot, because we're seeing some of our listings get 15, 16 offers on it.
Yeah.
Right.
And so for when you underprice something like that, and especially a fixer-upper under 100 grand in Bonneville County, look out.
What's also interesting is this is a foreclosure, and there's not many foreclosures out there right now. And so whenever that hits it, that people that preach their interest, this is a foreclosure. But I think that 120, foreclosure or not, you're going to pay top dollar for a house regardless.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good point.
So taking a look at our year to date, Jeremy, if you take a look at this one, you're still, it's still there. It's full price.
Yeah, and it looks flat, but I'll tell you, with the increase in the average sell price, this number might be a little deceiving, because I think that overall we're just seeing a lot of pressure on that price and maintaining 100% or more of the ask price. So you're seeing sellers kind of price a little higher sometimes than they should, and I think that's really the difference there. So things are just selling, and buyers have to be prepared for that.
No. So that leads on to Chad talking about how long houses are sitting on the market on our average days.
Average days on market. Yeah. So basically, and here's the kind of the interesting thing with stats, right? Because they're always telling a story, but the story might not be what we think it is. So basically, from 2019, if you compared August only, we had 25 days on the market, which is, I mean, that's
So,
aggressive.
Chad, for me, if I didn't know, what do you mean when you mean days on market? What does that
Days
mean?
on market is when it goes on the market until an offer is accepted, and that's on average. Okay. And so basically in 2020, in August, days on market went up 44% to 36 days. Wow. So what does that mean? Does that mean there's more inventory? Does that mean, what the market's changing?
Finally slowing
No.
down?
Yeah, no, it doesn't at all. And what that means is that because we have to go in and say, what's the story behind this? Why are we 36 days on market? And what we have is we have a number of homes that sold that have been on the market for a long time. There you go. You have our $1.7 million home that had 5 years on the market, and there were 4 others that sold that were close to a year. And so that took that to 36 days on the market. And so really if you look at the median days, that's why we put this on this slide, our median days on market's really only 8.
What
And
does
so
that
it's
mean,
still,
Chad?
median means you take out the bookends. You take out the
High and the
ones that
low.
are longest and the low. Yeah, the high and the low. And so really median's probably a better reflection of days on market.
And that
It's
would
8.
be that's a bananas number.
It's a crazy number. Yeah, because the 25 days on market, that's accounting, and 36, that's accounting for the ones that, were overpriced and took 3 or 4 months to sell.
Right.
And, median is a better reflector of that, because that might, make people think, oh, it's 36 days on market. The market's changing. No, it's not. It's just, some of these ones, 5 years, hey, they're persistent. They didn't give up, and they sold at a high price. So
I want to
them.
point out on this slide here, you'll notice the number of homes sold, the majority, that 99 and that 72 and that 54. Now
Yeah.
look at their days on market. So the
Yeah.
bulk
Right.
of the market, that's how we get that median price. That bulk is right there. And when you have the most there, then you're getting to median in that area.
Yep.
But year to date,
And if
go ahead.
Oh,
and if you were to some of those homes, like 21 days, 20 days, 32 days on market, even some of those were priced a little bit too high. And if you did median on that, it'd even be considerably lower, because most people might look at these numbers and say, hey, well, every home I see has a sold sign up within a couple days. Well, you got to remember how averages work, because there are some that sit for a little while.
Yep.
And price point.
And
I think
price.
that big one too, it started at over 2 million, right?
Yeah.
2.2
Yeah.
million.
Yep.
So here's
okay. Yeah. So here's kind of our year-to-date number, and that is 34 days for last year to date through August, and we're at 36. So basically, the markets hasn't changed that much as far as days on market. Really, the only change we're seeing right now is just inventory continues to decrease. So,
Well, and it's going to be hard unless we move to a significantly higher cash market. It gets hard to get under on when you take a long average. Like this is 8 months average, so you're getting a better indication of the market. It's hard to get under 30 days when to get financing. It's hard to get your financing. It is an issue of people not wanting to buy. If the financing gets tough while rates are low with refinances, it will be hard to dip on a long scale under 30 days.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm taking a look at this, Jeremy. Let's talk about inventory.
Yes. This is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So in Bonneville County, we actually dipped below 1 month of inventory last month, right? First time. So what this means is that if no more buyers or no more sellers entered the market, we only have 0.83, less than 1 month of houses to supply the current buyers, or for the current market. So no new houses entered, they're all gone within a month's time, and there's no more inventory. And in a balanced market, we like to see 5 to 6 months of inventory, and we are less than 1. So it for sure is a seller's advantage right now, being one of the the houses that sell, because there's lots more buyers than there are sellers. Just like Chad's saying, supply and demand.
So I might mention
Less than a month.
inventory being down 13% on what we have available. Last month we were down 23%. So I mean, we are continually, and we're continually going in, and we're moving into our lowest inventory months. So it's going to be, it's tight.
That's right. And the other day we looked, there was in Bonneville County, there was only 100 houses available in all the price ranges. And here's the idea. Oh, there you go.
Here's Bonneville County. Yep.
So if you look at that range, it looks like there's a lot of homes available, but the good ones are getting bought up pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Bonneville County's tight.
This one yours, Chad?
Yeah. So.
But let me come back to all three counties on our inventory. I mean, this is Bonneville, Jefferson, and Bingham.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, crazy. And you see those days on market. That means even in those numbers, there's some sitters.
Yeah, there's some sitters. I mean, you look at, you guys might have mentioned this, but I had someone walk in the office and I got distracted, but
yeah, I got bored and stopped paying attention.
No, so basically, just because you have homes that are selling in such a hot market, a lot of people think, oh, I can sell at any price range. So did you guys mention how many homes there are in the million plus range?
No.
I mean, there's 12 homes on the million plus range. And a lot of people think, oh, well, it's my time. Well, it's really not their time. I mean, maybe there's more people that can afford that price range now than before, or are confident enough to buy in that price range, but it doesn't mean the market's good for them. Mm-hmm. As it is for people between 100 and 300,000, 400,000.
Right. You can see that 200 to 300, 27 days. What I thought was really interesting on this is the inventory is you've got that 200 to 300, but then also that 500 to 600, 26 days. So those two are keeping up and moving. People are pricing right in there and moving them along. And then you've got the 148. So somebody's in that 300 to 400 range, and they're really shooting for the moon.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Really shooting for the moon, hoping to get something, but they've been sitting for a while.
Yep.
And in Bonneville County,
yeah, Bonneville County, look at these numbers. Average price. Again, the biggest takeaway I think on this slide is just that hot range is between, 200 to 500,000. That's the hot stuff. It used to be 0 to 200 used to be the hot range, but not anymore. Yeah. It's pretty hard to buy a home under $200,000 as a starter home now.
Yeah.
It's tough. So.
Well, I might point out on this slide, you'll notice I started at 100,000.
Yeah.
That's because there are 0 houses for sale under 100 in Bonneville County.
Yep.
You mentioned, Chad, the ones that are currently out there. We've got 5, but those are rough ones, and they're all in Bingham County.
Every single one of them is in Bingham County.
500 square foot houses or manufactured homes
or manufactured homes. Yep.
Days on market.
Yep. Yeah, they're not moving, and so it's not a magic market. That's I think what these stats tell us. It's not a magic market. It is still a market-based market. You're either going to be one of 2 homes that sell. You're going to be the one that sells, or you're either going to be one of 2 homes on the market, the one that sells or the one that helps the other home sell. So if you're not selling, you're helping the other home sell. You're only going to be one of those 2.
Yeah. That's the hard part of starting high is you're making the other ones look good.
Yep.
Because it's about value, right? How much do I get for 200,000 versus how much do I get for 200,000? This one's a better value. I get more here. So that helped me make my decision for this one.
Yeah, and these buyers might not think they understand the market, but they're studying, they're looking, they're analyzing. They're setting the market. So
they're seeing more houses than most appraisers, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So they know what value is to them. It's their hard-earned dollars.
If they're trying to buy at 250, there's not that many homes. This is, there's just not that many to look at. So you become an expert real fast. If your budget is 250 and there are 7 homes or 3, you are an expert at what's on the market. And if the seller thinks they're going to outsmart you, you're going to say, listen, I know everything that's out there. You're not a better value than the next guy. So that leads us on to affordability, Jeremy. Taking a look at this, you talked about that earlier. Keeping affordable. These interest rates are what's going to offset those prices.
That's right. And isn't that crazy that 2.5%? I mean, it sounds like the old student loan interest rates, right?
Right.
It's just crazy. And they said the other day someone bought it down, and on a 15-year they got 1.875.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like gas prices and interest rates right now are just unbelievable. Yeah. And so it allows for the price of the home to go up in our market and have that appreciation or that increased price, because the cost per month is decreasing as the rates go down. And so what we probably prefer to see is a slower increase in the price of the home, and then keep interest rates somewhere that's manageable, so we're not moving too quickly in either direction. But right now that is helping affordability for sure.
So if I might mention something as I thought about with this, if you're thinking about, is it a smart time to move? We were on Parade of Homes this weekend discussing, is it a smart time to move? Well, I said, if you're going to borrow the money, what does every financial person say? You sell high and buy low, right? Well, when you're buying, your interest rate is how low it is. It isn't really the price. It's because that interest rate is how much you're going to pay above and beyond the purchase price. Above and beyond the purchase price, how much more do you pay? When you sell, that's all pocket money. So you want to sell high and buy at lowest interest rate so that you're paying the least amount above and beyond the purchase price, because that purchase price is your savings account. It will keep going up, but that interest rate, you don't want that to keep going up. It's going to be locked in. So you want the lowest rate as your house appreciates and your savings account gets bigger, but your rate doesn't get bigger, but you sell at the highest market. So it is, I want to shake everybody's shoulders, say, if there was a time to sell, before November is the time to sell, right?
Yeah, we could have a lot of things changing this year with the election for sure.
Yeah. I was taught that lesson on interest rates probably 15, 18 years ago. I had a savvy investor, and there was a fourplex that was listed for probably $20,000 higher than the market. And we wrote in an offer. He was going to pay cash, and they weren't willing to go low. And so he just said, well, are you interested in financing it? And he's like, yeah, I'll finance it. Because the guy was fixed on the price. And so he just said, okay, well, why don't you finance it? And I think interest rates were like 6-7% back then. He said, why don't you finance it for me at 3%? And the guy's like, sure. And then the buyer just looked at me and winked. And afterwards he was like, I just got this way underpriced, because of that, because the power of the interest rate. I mean, he understood that, and he knew how much he wanted to pay, and he wasn't going to pay this, but if he could get cheap financing, then he'd be willing to pay this. And really, the seller got his price, but he didn't make more money. It's just funny how that works. So
it's good.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, that was pretty amazing. It's crazy markets.
Yep.
All I can say is, I'll say it again. If you ever think you're going to sell in the next, you need to call us today. Because we might have a magic number for you.
Yeah, and it may not be the right time to sell, but it might be, depending on what your situation is. So we'll provide you good information so you can, Chad?
Well, with good information, you can make good decisions. So That's what you need more than anything else. If you're thinking about doing something, get some good information. I mean, find out what your home's worth. Find out what it's out there. I mean, because if you can lock into a 30-year loan, I mean, that's just unbelievable.
So if you think about that, and also if with the inventory now, right? The inventory now, people are like, well, I don't have anywhere to move. Well, you've got to be ready, because there's houses coming on the market. But if you're not ready to make a move, notice how fast it happens. So you can't say, ooh, when I find one, I'm going to throw my house on the market. That house is gone.
Yeah.
You've got to say,
have a plan in place.
Taking advantage of this market, and I got to go in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been fun.
All righty.
Yep. All righty. Thanks again. Call us if you need anything, and we are happy to help. And thanks for everyone who's trusted us in the past, and tell us, share us to your friends and families, and let them know we're here to help. And we hope you enjoy this video.
If you want to know what homes sold for in your neighborhood, we can set you up on an automated email and tell you what the home sold for in your neighborhood and give you updates.
If you're a buyer in today's market and you want to be in the know, give us a call and we'll help you out.
If you love the idea of having someone to contact at any time, that's the benefit of a team. Give us a call, let us talk about your process and how you can have a better experience, a more satisfying experience in real estate with Murdock Manwaring Company.